And all of us, we are truly honored to have as our keynote speaker today, Dr. Arrien. Angeles is a cultural anthropologist, an award-winning author, an educator, consultant to many organizations and businesses. She lectures and conducts workshops worldwide that bridges cultural anthropology, psychology, and comparative religions. Her work is currently used in medical, academic, and corporate environments. For over 25 years, Angeles has included within her fourfold way programs 3-day solo wilderness experiences in Northern California and Arizona. Her love of reconnecting people with nature has provided life-changing experiences for over 6,000 people, nationally and internationally, from ages 16 to 87. She has many books, but I think the popular ones that you all recognize are The Fourfold Way, Walking the Path of the Warrior, Teacher, Healer, and Visionary, and Living in Gratitude, a journey that will change your life, which was recognized as one of the best spiritual books of 2011. And I know many of us here have either studied with Angeles or read her books and her tarot books, and absolutely so appreciative of you being here. So thank you.
Since I'm vertically challenged, I'll stand. So you can see me because if I sat on the chair, those in the back would just see the top of brown hair, I guess. So it's an honor and privilege to be here and support Polos. And thank you, Jan, for your incredible reminders, and also the exquisite integration of what eco-psychology is, and also what I consider that Polos has been doing for many years is a deep remembrance of what is truly so. It's a deep remembrance. It's a remembering of probably the oldest ways of being. It's in the human spirit to deeply be with and by and for the creatures of the earth, since we are creatures of the earth also. There's really no separation. And it's a cycle of coming back to remember who and what we are in relationship to the great creation called Earth. And we are part of that great creation, and there's really no separation. So I'd like to just begin with an old Pueblo blessing that was released now almost 10 years ago as a prayer that the Navajo and the Hopi and the Zuni nations got together, the elders, as a prayer that could be released into the world, especially for this time in history. And it goes like this. Hold on to what is good, even if it's a handful of earth. Hold on to what you believe, even if it's a tree that stands alone. Hold on to what you must do, even if it's a long way from here. Hold on to my hand, even when I've gone away from you. Hold on to what is good. Hold on to what is good. Hold on to what is good. And Polos is very good. And we want to hold on to what is good. It reminds me that Juan Ramon Jimenez, which was the Nobel Prize of Literature, and also what Carl Jung has they both recognized at different times in their lives. But Jung said, if you become disheartened, dispirited, or depressed, and are experiencing deep soul wounds, that the human spirit will go to certainly antithetical to that there would be 4 places in nature to remember yourself, to bring all the parts back together again. And that is to go to the deserts, to go to the deep woods, to go to the waters, and to go to the mountains. And it might be interesting to see which of those 4 places that is in your imprinting. And when you go to when you go to either one of these 4 places, or you go to an indigenous culture, they're going to ask you 2 important questions when they first meet you. They're going to ask you, why were you so named? What is the story of your name? That's the first question. Why are you so named? What is the story of your name? And the second question they're going to ask you, and what is the land that has most shaped you? What is the land that has most shaped you? And the first question, why are you so named, always brings a story surrounding your name. And tribal peoples of the world, or indigenous peoples of the world, believe that the sonic of your life name carries your purpose, your call, and your destiny. But also, the name, cross-culturally, there's no culture in the world that does not name everything in nature and every living creature. By naming it, it calls it into existence. And it also brings up our ancestral lines, And so Juan Ramon Jimenez, when he found himself at 42 years of age, very disheartened, very dispirited, and very depressed, decided that he would go to the mountains, to the Pyrenees Mountains, and reclaim himself. He had hit a place in his poetry and in his writing where he had hit the proverbial wasteland. And so he went to the mountains and he stayed there. And after 3 weeks, suddenly there was a little spirit that was coming up, a little big voice coming up, and it was answer to a prayer. Tell me who I really am beyond what I do. Tell me who I really am beyond what I do. And in the mountains, he kept asking that prayer to the mountains. Tell me who I really am beyond what I do. And for a week, these lines came up. This was the first line. I am not I. I am the one who walks beside me that I cannot see. And the one whom at times I remember. And the one whom at times I forget. And the one who forgives gently as I move into anger, doubt, or fear. And the one who walks where I cannot go, and the one who remains standing when I die. That came line by line. First, I am not I, the first day. It's the only thing that came. The second line, I am the one who stands beside me that I cannot see. And the third day, and the one who at times I remember, and the one who at times I forget. And the fourth day, and the one who walks where I cannot go. And the fifth day, and the one who remains standing when I die. And so he committed that to memory and made it his personal vow. And at the end, and that was the third week he was in nature where this came through, and we went back to Madrid, out of the mountains, the Pyrenees Mountains, back to Madrid. And for the next 5 months, came out of him 299 poems. This was the first. And he won the Nobel Prize for Literature for his collection of 300 poems. For 300 poems, based on that first poem. And so, for you, what has been the land that has most imprinted and shaped you? Where have you lived the longest? It may not have been your natural terrain, but it shaped you. It shaped your character. Mountain peoples of the world, you can recognize mountain people of the world because they're very serene, solid, unflappable, just taking the next step, resourceful. Mountain people. Mountain people. People who live near waters, lakes, oceans, are very flexible. They're what we call early adapters. They're fluid, flexible, and China and have a saying for people who are very truly flexible. Be like a bamboo reed, firm yet yielding. Not too firm because you'll be breakable. Not too yielding because you'll be too diffused and undefined. Be like a bamboo reed, firm and yielding. That's nature's way. Firm yet yielding. Firm yet yielding. If it's nature's way, it's also, guess what? Our way. Firm yet yielding. Firm yet yielding. So, where am I in my flexibility? And I can always tell where I'm not flexible and how I handle surprises and the unexpected. And you can count on surprises and the unexpected every day. You can count on it. The Inuit people of the world say there are 2 plans to every day. There's my plan, and then there's the mysteries plan. My plan, and then there's the mysteries plan. And do I make space? Do I make space, allowance for the one expected thing we can count on every day, which is surprise and the unexpected? You can count on it. And as children, we approach life with, I wonder what's going to happen next. With great curiosity, where our curiosity is much greater than our criticality. And through our journey through life, we once again return to back around. Can I, in my wisdom years, rediscover that my curiosity is much greater than my criticality? That's called wisdom. That's called wisdom. And wisdom is not age-bound. But after 50 years of age, if you're not demonstrating some kind of wisdom, it's less than becoming. So, what has been the lens that has shaped me? The other thing around my flexibility, water people. Mountain people are solid, stable. Mountain people are people that have great equanimity. They know how to meet disturbance without disturbance. They just take the next step. What needs to be done here? Water people, fluid, flexible, resilient, malleable, like a bamboo reed, firm yet yielding. They know how to handle surprises and the unexpected. And the other place that will tell me where I've lost, where I'm not very flexible is where I've lost my sense of humor. It's good to track where you don't think it's funny anymore. It's really good to track where you don't think it's funny anymore, because where I don't think it's funny anymore, I'm attached. And so it's good to see how the practice of non-attachment, which means the capacity to deeply care but from an objective place. So desert people, the great religious leaders of the world have always spent some time in the desert. Jesus spent 40 days in the desert. Mohammed spent time in the desert. Buddha spent time in the desert. And in the desert, everything turns you inward because there's no rare stimulation external. And so desert people are wide open people who are willing to look again, which is the true meaning of the word respect. Respect comes from the word respectar, the willingness to look again. The willingness to look again. Maybe how I see it is half true. Maybe how I see it is only partially true. Maybe how I see it is dead on. But respectar, the willingness to look again. Oh, that's George. That's the way George has always been. I don't respect George. There's a fixed perspective. I see one aspect and miss all the other facets of George. All the other facets of George. So desert people, certain place of openness. Desert people do not like the experience of claustrophobia, and they need a lot of space, openness, and expansion. And there's a creative resourcefulness that comes with desert people. And resourceful, they can get along just on what they need, the basics. No more, no less than the elementals. So you find desert people often talking in monosyllables. And it's to the point. There's no excess. Yes, it's a fine morning, don't you think? That's it. Oh, the horse needs a new book. Well, George down the road can take care of that. It's to the point. It's what is necessary. And then you have the tree people. The tree people. people who love to live among the trees in the heart of the deep wood, And there hasn't been a tree person, this is the long time in the trees, that isn't an introvert. These are people who like to explore the depths, the roots of things, And they're deep thinkers, and deep thinkers. And they trust their gut. They are not instinct injured. When we are instinct injured, we begin to second guess ourselves. And when we second guess ourselves, we begin to normalize the abnormal and abnormalize the normal. Here's abnormalizing the normal is making mountains out of molehills or catastrophizing for drama because I have an addiction to intensity and I have a fear of boredom. That's catastrophizing. That's abnormalizing the normal. Then here's normalizing the abnormal. Oh, my partner just threw our favorite China plate across the ribbon and broke. Well, everybody has a bad day. That's normalizing the instinct injury. In the deep woods, we go back to the inherent, intuitive body wisdom, which most introverts pay attention to. Part of the deep woods. So it's always interesting to see what is the land that has most shaped me, because it's shaped my character. Whether that's land I naturally resonated to or not, it gave me a base. And then to find, well, maybe I've lived in two places, maybe in my early years from 1 to 18, I was in the mountains, and maybe from 18 to 40, I may have been in the desert lands. And then at the end of my life, I find myself with the water lands. But it's just interesting. The place that shaped me the most has shaped my character. It's given me a foundation for my character. And the shape and the place where I'm most nourished, whether it shaped me the most. Do I have a favorite nature spot that I go to now? That place, the place of deep nourishment that I can count on no matter what, is a deep healing and a deep remembrance. Someone asked St. Francis of Assisi, who was at one with nature, they said, Francis, what do you think is more powerful than the word? And Francis said, action. And someone else said, well, Francis, what do you think is more powerful than action? And Francis said, silence in nature. Silence in nature. He said, because in the quiet mind and in the reflection of our own interior wilderness, all things are possible. In the quiet mind and the reflection of our interiority, which is the wilderness, all things are possible. All things are possible. And it's in our inherent way. It's inherent to the human spirit to befriend silence and to befriend nature, because it's the two deepest anchors within the human spirit. And what I love about Holos is what Gabriel Garcia Marquez, who is a wonderful South American writer, he's written a short book of collections of stories as well as poetry. But he wrote this wonderful short story called The Boy and the Map. And it's about a Brazilian father who had a huge map of the world and of the planet on his wall. And he had pinpricks all over it of the trouble spots of the world, not only the human trouble spots of the world, but also the environmental trouble spots of the world. And he was deeply absorbed in his work. So much so that his son came in after a week and said, Papa, we miss you. You don't even come to dinner. What are you involved in that's taking all your time and attention? And the man said, well, I really want the world to be a better place for you. So I'm trying to solve these problems of the world. And his son said, Papa, let me help you. How can I help you so I can be with you? And his father thought, oh my goodness, what am I going to give him to absorb the time? Because he was under one of those deadlines that we all know about. And so he began to take the large wall map off of the wall, the pinpricks out, just of the wall map. And he began to tear it up in pieces. And he said, I know how you can help me, because then you'll be working on the same problem I am, but in a different way. And he tore the whole map of the world up. And he said, I know how much you love puzzles, and you can, put the world back together. And his son looked in dismay, and his son said, Papa, I don't even know what the world looks like. And his father said, well, you love puzzles, and I know that you can put the world back together, thinking that this would absorb him for another 2 weeks at least. Well, 2 days later, he hears rustling coming down the hall to his study, and here is his 9-year-old boy pulling the folded map of the world, dragging it down the hall. It's all folded up. And so it's all folded up, and he said, Papa, I put the whole world back together. And his father said, well, how did you do that? And he said, see, Papa, see on the back of the map, see, there's this person, and I put the person back together, and then the whole world came back together. And I think that's just the heart of what oikos is doing. Putting the world, putting the person back together, puts the whole world back together. And it's a deep remembrance. And the other thing that I want to remind us of is that nature's rhythm is medium to slow. I'm going to say that again. Nature's rhythm is medium to slow. And we are creatures of nature, and our natural rhythm is medium to slow. Our natural rhythm is medium to slow. And we are out of our rhythm. We are out of our rhythm, our natural rhythm. In nature, for those of us who spend a lot of time in nature, there is nothing in nature that moves fast unless it's in danger. And then it will move very quickly for 15 to 20 minutes to get out of danger. And then it resumes back. And what is nature's rhythm? Medium to slow. What is nature's rhythm? Medium to slow. And the only time that we have to move rapidly is when we are in danger. When we are in danger. And the only positive function of true fear is a registration in our body that we're in physical danger. All other fear is manufactured in the mind. And I love what Mark Twain, he said, oh, I'm getting old now. And he said, and I'm worried about so many things that never happened. The what ifs and the ifs, all of that. All the things we manufacture in our anxieties and our fears in the mind. And so one of the things that I'm particularly concerned by is that just in the last decade, thanks to Richard Wu, he's identified what is called nature deficit syndrome that are, and that as youth, especially in my generation, we spent more time in nature outdoors than we did indoors. And as adults, we've had a tendency to reverse that, where we spend more time indoors than outdoors. But biologically, the human spirit needs to be in nature every day for a full hour to receive natural light and natural air. An hour every day. Whether I'm sitting on the deck, whether I'm taking a walk, a full hour, not just cuts, 15 minutes here and dashes of 10 minutes there, but a full hour every day. And there's a lot that you can do in an hour outside, and it's much more fun, much more interesting. Full hour, you get messages like bird and visitations. But it's really important to take a look at this time in history. We're not only getting more removed from nature, we're also getting more removed from quality time face to face. And so there's a disassociation that I'm concerned about that creates greater isolation. So it was very interesting to me that 7 years ago, the United Nations decided to sponsor the World Indigenous Council to meet in Switzerland and to bring indigenous elders from all over the world to meet. And they've been meeting now for over 7 years. But 3 years ago, they met to see if their prophecies, all of their prophecies for this time in history from 2000 to 250, if there was anything that was a confluence of the prophecies, from all the prophecies, the diviners of Africa, from the island peoples of the world, and the indigenous peoples of North and South America, if there was any one line in all the prophecies that came together. And there was. And it's the line. The prophecy and the word of this time. And it goes like this. When the wisdoms of the sky merge with the wisdoms of the earth and are braided through the human heart, then we will have a rainbow people. I'm going to say that again. When the wisdoms of the sky, and the wisdoms of the sky currently are fiber optics, satellites, the internet, the web, the wisdoms of the sky merge, are not sacrificed for or preferred over, but merge with the wisdoms of the earth, the environmental movement, the eco-psychology movement, the eco-spiritual movement, when they merge, out of which all land based peoples of the world still have that ancient remembrance of what Francis Assisi said, that in the quiet mind, and which also reflects the our interiority is reflected by nature. All things are possible in nature and science. And so it would be very important that we begin to take a look at, where was I?
You were repeating.
Oh, yes, the wisdoms of the sky, thank you. Went into the sky. The wisdoms of the sky merged with the wisdoms of the earth, and I was with the earth. When they have equal coexistence, one is not sacrificed for the other, and are braided through the human heart. And it's interesting to me that that all of the technologies of the heart are being released in the last decade. That it's important, for example, that there's equal attention given to the heart as there is to the mind, there is to the belly, the three major central foci or assemblage points of the human body is the mind, the heart, and the belly. The mind, the heart, and the intuitive knowing of the body, wisdom. Those three assemblage points are braided through the human heart, and the heart is the bridge between the mind and the belly. The heart. And the four-chambered heart. I love that the breath and the heartbeat are totally in the present. They are not in the future, and they are not in the past. Our breath and our heartbeat are in the present. They are not in the future, and they are not in the past. And the present is the place of choice and creative power. It's in the present, when we are present for and with and by each other, we can course correct the past and create our preferred future. We can course correct the past and create our preferred future. And the four-chambered heart actually is labeled among traditional peoples of the world. The top two chambers are known as the full heart and the strong heart. And the bottom two chambers are known as the open heart and the clear heart. The strong heart, the full heart and the strong heart, the open heart and the clear heart. When they're braided through the human heart, at this time in history, we need to release the shadow sides as well of the four-chambered heart. The shadow side of full-heartedness is half-heartedness. There's a lot of half-heartedness in our world at this time. A lot of half-heartedness. And wherever we're half-hearted, we're inconsistently showing up. And wherever we're half-hearted, we're not really reliable in our commitment. So half-heartedness shows what either we've outgrown, or it also shows us where we become duty-bound rather than moving with our natural fire. The fire of vision, the fire of the heart, the creative fire, and the soul's fire. So where am I seized, fully engaged in my life? It's a full heart. And there's commitment, and there's a lot of energy that's been galvanized around that. And it's important to track what has heart and meaning for me. And Spinoza said in the 15th century that if you want to track what has meaning for you, in any way, or what has fire that you may not be conscious of, is to ask yourself 3 questions. And one is, who or what inspires me? Who or what inspires me? Because I cannot be inspired unless it has meaning. So it's important to think about this last year, who or what has inspired me? That has meaning, and that's where I can show up wholeheartedly. That's where I can show up. And many of us aren't tracking that. The second question is, to track meaning the second question is, where do I have a sense of comfort, satisfaction, and contentment? Where do I have this today, for example, or yesterday, or this last year? Where did I find a sense of peace, a sense of comfort, a sense of satisfaction? Because wherever I find comfort, peace, satisfaction is where I experience trust. And the opposite of trust is control. And the 3 universal planks of trust are self-trust, trust of others, and trust of the circumstances. Some of us trust ourselves, but we don't trust others in the circumstances. And others of us trust others in the circumstances more than we trust ourselves. And then there are others of us who trust ourselves and we trust others, but we don't trust the circumstances. And in order to really come into the authentic self, you need all 3. Self-trust, trust of others, and trust of the circumstances. Those 3 planks. So it's important to take a look at last year, where did I experience the sense of comfort, peace, satisfaction? There's a strong base of trust and deep nourishment. And probably is where I come into my natural rhythm, which is what? Slow. Hear that again? Medium to slow. Yeah, medium to slow. And then the last question, Spinoza's question, is, what made me happy today? What? Not who. What? What made me happy today? Or what really made me happy last year? What made me happy last year? Because there are 2 illusions that we have to collapse in life. And if we don't collapse them before 50, we're forced to collapse them after. And the first illusion that we have to collapse is that it's not someone else's responsibility to make me happy. Darn. It's not someone else's responsibility to make me happy. It's my responsibility. And if others make me happy, if my children make me happy, if my partner makes me happy, my friends and colleagues make me happy, that's the frosting to the cake. That's the frosting. But it's not the cake. Whatever makes me happy that's not relationally dependent nurtures the soul. Whatever makes me happy that's not relationally dependent nurtures the soul and often takes me into transcendent time. Maybe I have a deep love for music, and music is transcendent. Art is transcendent. Writing is transcendent. Walking in nature is transcendent. Where I lose time and begin to have a conversation that's very mysterious. So those three things. So the full heart, I know half-hearted this, if I can ask myself those 3 questions. Then the strong heart. Whenever we say someone is strong-hearted, they're courageous, read.
What was the second illusion was supposed to block something?
Oh, the second thing, thank you. And the second thing that we must collapse after we're 50, if not before, illusion, is I do not have the power to change someone else. I can only change myself. Drags. Drags. That's the second illusion, that we have a lot of power to change someone else. We don't. But I can certainly change myself, and that will change dynamics in relationship. That's the only power I truly have. So those two illusions. So the strong-heartedness. Oh, before I leave that. So whoever's case I'm on, it's important to get off it because I'm not doing my work. I'm too busy monitoring them because I would love to change them so they'll be more like me and then everything will be all right. So it's important to get to my work, what's calling in my interior work to be addressed. Some of us are so seducible by potential, and I have a good calling that says, well, potential sucks. Because it means that you're not accepting what's there in the moment. We're really looking at it and thinking, well, I see the potential in my client, I see the potential in the project, see the potential in my partner, which usually means do-over. So, yeah.
Angie, can I ask you to go back to the indigenous piece you were telling when the wisdom of the sky, which is with the wisdom of the earth.
It's braided to the human heart, and we're just doing the 4 chambers heart. Then there will be a rainbow people. So that's where we were. We're in the heart now.
Oh, good, we're still in the heart. Thank you.
Yeah. Wisdoms of the sky, we know what they are. We know what the wisdoms of the earth are. Braided to the human heart. So we have to know about the 4 chambers heart. 4 chambers heart. So the strong heart is the courageous heart. And courage comes from the root word where, to stand by my core, to stand by what has heart and meaning. And wherever I'm not strong-hearted, the shadow side of it is weak-heartedness. Weak-heartedness. And weak-heartedness is signaled by conflict avoidance. How many of us are conflict avoidant? Many of us are, even though we won't admit it. And so conflict avoidance, or, and if I'm weak-hearted, I move into pleasing and appeasing behaviors wherever I am weak-hearted or conflict avoidant. And I'm lacking courage. Courage means to stand by one's core, to stand by one's heart, and we're always courageous, but we don't track it as much as we track what's not working. But think about, there's always multiple acts of courage in every decade of your life. And what was the act of courage in last year? What was your act of courage last year? What was your act of courage in this last month? What was your act of courage in this last week? Then we have the open heart, and many of us have a Dutch door on our heart. We have a Dutch door. We play peekaboo a lot. We appear warm and affable, yet there's just so far you can get in. And the open heart is a place of curiosity and exploration and discovery. The open heart, where curiosity is greater than criticality of any kind. And it's good to track where I'm closed-hearted or becoming closed-hearted, explore what am I cold-hearted to, because it reveals where I have forgiveness with to, where I'm holding on to old resentments, grudges, disappointments, and what is my forgiveness work? Wherever I might be holding regrets or remorse or needing to forgive myself or to forgive others that wittingly or unwittingly harmed me. But this is the work of the braided heart. The braided heart. Human beings are here for two purposes: to learn about love and to express love, and to create and contribute and to serve. So what is my contribution, my creativity, my service, and what am I learning about love at this time? What have I learned about love last year? What am I learning about love now? And then the last chamber is the clear heart, and nothing creates more safety than clarity, because we know where we stand. You know, it's interesting. Cross-culturally, it says that if you have these three powers, you cannot be ignored. One is the power of presence. Walt Whitman said, "We convinced by our presence." And somebody walks into the room, and you know, you're captivated. You think, "Oh, I want to meet them before the evening is over." They have great presence. Or you notice someone just standing over by the door. They have this great presence, or someone sitting, and you just notice their presence, quality of presence. But they lose it on the second power when they open their mouth. The power of communication. The power of communication. So you have great presence, and then it doesn't match on communication. Some of our politicians have great presence and they have great communication, but they lose it on the third power when we think, well, where do they stand on this issue? Where do they stand on this issue? And we scratch our heads and we don't know where they stand. We can say Martin Luther King had all three powers. We can say Mother Teresa had all three powers. We can say Gandhi had all three powers. We can say Eleanor Roosevelt had all three powers. Because they all had presence, they all had power of communication, and you truly knew where they stood on any issue. So there's that kind of clarity when we talk about the clear heart. The shadow side of the clear heart is doubt, ambivalence, hesitation, reservation. It's hard to be around people who are always hesitant or tentative or pulling back or ambivalent or riding the fence, and you just don't know where they are. And many of us actually know where we are, but we carry around our little fog machines. And what we do when someone asks us a question that somehow we have the hubris to think that we might hurt their feelings if we were really honest, because we often say, well, I don't want to hurt their feelings, so I won't really say we're in a relationship. So the person says, where do you think we're going in our relationship? And then flip on the phone. Confusion. I don't know, And then you think the other person backs off and goes down and things clear again. It's interesting when we use confusion and how we use confusion, because the heart knows. The heart doesn't analyze things. The heart is a clear knowing. It's a clear yes, it's a clear no, and it's a clear I don't know. And the clear I don't know is to say, this is what I'm clear about in this relationship, and this is what I'm unclear about in this relationship. And cross-culturally, it's important only to take action on the There's always, in every transition, there's always a point of clarity. And that's where you need to take action, is on that point of clarity. And when you're not clear, it's time to wait. The Africans in South Africa, among the Sotho, they have a great statement. Walking the land of gray clouds is a clear I don't know. And they know how to identify what they're unclear about. It's yes, no, I don't know. Is this my partner? Yes. Is this my partner? No. Is this my colleague? Yes. Is this my partner? No. Clear yeses. Whenever you have to try to figure it out, guess where we are? We're not in the heart, and we're usually in potential. The potential. Well, you know, this is better than the last relationship. In potential again, rather than, you know, well, I don't know. I'll just take some time to explore. I don't know. I do know this, I like this about this person at this time. If I don't know if this is my partner, but why not enjoy the friendship? The unfolding friendship. So, the four-chambered heart. The full heart, the strong heart, the open heart, the clear heart, and braiding and releasing the shadow sides of half-heartedness, weak-heartedness, closed-heartedness, and the doubting, hesitant, ambivalent heart, rather than giving a clear I don't know specification. Then we will become a rainbow. When the wisdoms of the sky merge with the wisdoms of the earth, and one is not sacrificed for the other, and we use both wisdoms in equal proportion and equal value, we can then come into each other's hearts and learn about love together and all the arts of love: gratitude, joy, laughter, appreciation, acknowledgement, recognition, forgiveness, for all the arms of love, all the portals of love, generosity of spirit, all the portals of love. Love is that flame that once kindled burns everything, and only the mystery and the journey remains. A wonderful line from Ruby. Love is that flame that once kindled burns everything, and only the mystery and the journey remains. So I think that we're positioned at a wonderful time in history, probably the greatest quickening time that has ever occurred evolutionarily in history. And an exciting time. My prayer every day is, oh, please let me live for another 30 years so we can witness. But I'm going to do everything I can while we're in this phase, because it's an exciting phase. It's a potent time of creativity, a potent time of evolution, a potent time when we come together and walk as a rainbow people, that where we look at diversity as an opportunity rather than a problem, because out of diversity comes creation over and over again. The third creative option always comes out of diversity. And we're in a time really beginning to dim the ego, befriend the shadow, and hold paradox, polarity, and opposition. So a third option can emerge that's greater than the polarity or the opposition. We're living that nationally right now, as that there are two polarities two huge polarities and paradox. And our work is how to hold creative tension without moving to premature solution. How to hold creative tension without moving to premature solution. Can I host as many possibilities as possible? Can I host? And it's a time where there is cross-culturally that we're all the races are coming together. Then we will be a rainbow people. Not only are all the races cross-pollinating in the world, and the greatest experiment of diversity is in the United States. We have every race in the world in the United States. Great creative experiment of diversity that all the world lives in the United States. And we're not paying attention to that potentiality. That potentiality. All the world lives in the United States. There's so much there that can come out of that elegant, beyond polarity, beyond paradox. And we're being initiated into a both-and world. We've spent centuries in either or, and we're being initiated, galvanized into a both-and holding that creative tension so that the emergence of the elegant third option is greater than the polarity. That's the definition of creation and evolution. So one of the things that I've been looking at and that's captured my imagination in the last 10 years is it's occurred to me that every culture of the world, in their fairy tales and mythology, every culture has salvation myths and redemption myths, and every culture has end of the world apocalyptic kind of myths. So it occurred to me, well, there must be a whole body of myths in between, because that's the polarity, and there is. Every culture in the world has what's called creation myths. And what are creation myths? But myths about how to create new worlds. We're in a time in history where a new world is being created and we're being initiated into a global spirit since we were able to see the world from space. It was the first image around unitive global spirit. To see the earth, the beautiful blue jewel in space. To see and have that unitive awareness or that unitive consciousness that we're part of something deeply mysterious. I love that the Aboriginal Greek times when they saw the moon or the image of Earth, they said something holy is moving. Something holy is moving. I think it's a wonderful thing to really get. Something holy is moving internally and externally, and that we're all being created individually, collectively, together, constantly in a place of creation. And the glue that holds that creation together is what Brian Swin in The Universe is a Green Dragon says, well, as a quantum physicist, there's a huge field of allurements. And he says, in quantum physics, we call that the great magnetic field. But if we want to put lay terms on it, that field of allurement is love. Love. So it's the awakening, the reawakening of the heart, and the recreation and the deep remembrance of who we really are, rather than who we think. And that's exciting. That's really to me. And so I really honor the mission that Holos has, and it's a real privilege to be here today for your conference. And there are just a couple of last things I'd like to say. It's really been on quite a little roll here. A big rift, you might say. But Milton Olson, who's a naturalist, and someone had asked him, you know, he has studied geese for years, and someone asked him, 30 years of studying geese, you know, I mean, he's wholehearted about geese. He's totally sees. There's nothing half-hearted about his love about geese. And someone asked him, well, why are you so mesmerized by geese? And he said, well, because they always work together. You never see a geese alone. And when you do, you know there's another goose at least within 150 yards somewhere by, whether you see it visibly or not. And they always work together in twos, fours, whole groups, they always work together. And so someone asked him, he said, well, if there were 5 things we could learn from geese, what would they be? And he said, oh, I can tell you right now 5 off the top of my head. And so you finally put them down as lessons from the geese. Lessons from the geese. Fact number 1 about geese. As each goose flaps its wings, it creates an uplift for the birds that follow. And by flying in V formation, the whole flock has 71% greater flying range than if each bird flew alone. Did we recognize that? That if we fly together, we'll have a better uplift, 71%. 71%. Lesson. People who share a common direction and sense of community can get where they are going quicker and easier because they are traveling on the thrust of one another. Because they are traveling on the thrust of one another. That's kind of Holos, isn't it? They're all traveling on the thrust of one another. That's great. Fact number 2. When a goose falls out of formation, it suddenly feels the drag and resistance of flying alone. It quickly moves back into formation to take advantage of the lifting power of the bird immediately in front of it. Fact. When a goose falls out of formation, it suddenly feels that drag. But if we have as much sense of as a goose, we will stay in formation with those headed where we want to go. We are willing to accept their help and give our help to others. Fact number 3. When the lead goose tires, it rotates back into formation and another goose flies to the point position. Lesson. It pays to take turns doing the hard tasks and sharing leadership. As with geese, people are interdependent on each other's skills, capabilities, and unique arrangements of gifts, talents, and resources. Fact number 4. The geese flying in formation honk to encourage those in front to keep up their speed. Lesson. We need to make sure our honking is encouraging. It is encouraging. In groups where there is encouragement, the production and creativity is 72% greater. The power of encouragement to stand by one's heart and core values, and encourage the heart and core of others is the quality of monkey we see. And fact number 5, which is a very moving fact. When a goose gets sick, or wounded, or shot down, 2 other geese fly down in formation and follow it down to help and protect it. They stay with it until it dies or is able to fly again. Then they launch out with another formation or catch up if it hasn't been too long. Lesson: if we have as much sense as geese, we will stand by each other in difficult times as well as when we're strong. We have as much sense as geese. We will stand by each other in difficult times as well as when we're strong, which is always the way of nature, the inherent of nature for all creatures. And then finally, I wanted just to end with what our work is collectively and individually at this time. We started with the Pueblo blessing. Hold on, that is good. And this is a quote that I found Pete's coffee shop in the wall in Menlo Park. And it was attributed to Mother Teresa because she had it on the wall of her charity house. And what was wonderful for those of us who are over 65 and to recognize that Mother Teresa did not start her life work until she was 65, the life work that she was known for. So it's never too late. And after the 60s anyway, it's always the third act. And it's like the third act of a play, you know. You want to find out how it's going to be resolved, and you want to participate in that as much as you can. Is it going to be a comedy? It's going to be a tragedy? It's going to be a mystery? The third act is where it all comes to resolution in the play and the book. So, it's the most creative, yeasty, juicy time, which is the field of wisdom. The field of wisdom. Okay, so anyway, it was attributed to her because it was on her charity house, but it was actually written by Kevin Kent. That's a little book that's called Anyway. And these were the favorite lines that Mother Teresa loved from that. And she put them together on the wall as a reminder that this is our work of this time. People are unreasonable, illogical, and self-centered. Love them anyway. If you do good, people will accuse you of ulterior motives. Do good anyway. If you are successful, you win false friends and true enemies. Succeed anyway. The good you do today will be forgotten tomorrow. Do good anyway. Honesty and frankness make you vulnerable. Be honest and frank anyway. People favor underdogs, but follow only top dogs. Fight for some underdogs anyway. What you spend years building may be destroyed overnight. Build anyway. People really need help, but may attack you if you help them. Help people anyway. Give the world the best you've got, and you make it. Give the world the best you've got, anyway. Because it's a wonderful time in evolutionary history for us to love them anyway, do good anyway, succeed anyway, be honest and frank anyway, fight for some underdogs anyway, build anyway, help people anyway, and most of all, give the world the best of God. And thanks to Holy, because I believe you are giving the world. Thank you.